For the people who don't know you, give us a little bit of your backstory. I know you've done a lot of different things over the years, but what you're doing right now, in this partnership world, people may or may not know you. So give us a high level overview of like what you do right now, today, presently.
Yeah, so for the last couple of years, I've been building out a multi-partner playbook that brings ICP aligned, mutually exclusive partners together who share a common outcome, a common, we'll call it value proposition, joint value proposition, better together story. And most of the time, you normally see these types of co-marketing projects done like one partner at a time, one webinar or event at a time. And if you know anything about partnerships and webinars, there's really two big issues that come from that. Number one is there's a huge amount of lift that goes into producing a webinar, and so like all the operational effort to align, secure time, block off marketing calendars, and then grab the attention of the market. Whether you when you do it with one partner, if you really start to look at like the sunk costs by adding two partners, three partners, four partners, five partners, six partners, 27 partners. Well, that's a little too many, but I have done events with about 30, with about 28 partners at a time. Sure, yeah, there starts to be some complexities, but like honestly, once you get the main value proposition in place and the initial comms and structure and strategy down, now instead of having a one-to-one partner event that generates your average results of 3, 4, maybe 500 people, you're breaking into the thousands. And so I think my biggest event last year was around 1,800 people. And that's just me. That's Justin, right? That's not like a funded SaaS company. That's not like a
You're
multi-person
bootstrapped,
team, right?
bootstrapped here.
I play the orchestrator role and the strategist role. And then the other element of that is not only is there like just the initial investment in doing events, like doing one partner to one, you could just add more partners. The economies of scale from a time and operational perspective are really in your favor. The more partners you add, the more results you get for decreasing amounts of energy and effort. But also, when you have big multi-partner events, you are able to break through the noise of all the normal stuff that's hitting people's inboxes, right? They start to see their inbox with messages from this person and that person in their sphere of influence. And so there was a movement a couple of years ago called Nearbound, and its premise was you have outbound, you have inbound, you have nearbound, which surrounds your customers with influencers, their companies, solutions partners. And so it's like you're unavoidable, right? Like the message is reaching the market because, their inboxes are full of multiple messages from different people they know, like, and trust, saying this is something that's of importance and value to you. You're on LinkedIn, you've seen it take over. And so like I've implemented that not just as a one-off campaign, but actually as an operationalized alliance that if you start to look at what I'm talking about, and again, taking it to that next level, is now you've got these best companies with the best products, the best services, the best customer base, the best solution partners. And so what ends up happening is instead of going to market once or once a year in these one big off events, or even once a quarter, you now have the opportunity to brand yourself together as this alliance of apps and app partners that continually show up. And I think we've moved into a space where like people used to like look at branding as like, oh, branding, it's just dollars wasted, it's logos on a page. But what we really start to see is when you run an MSA, a marketing sales alliance, and I can get more into the technical side of that because there's a huge bunch of ops that make all this possible. So you got the
Yeah.
strategy and the execution, but the ops really is what makes it a long-lasting going concern. um, is that like sales reps from one company, you make an impression on them and they start to see, oh, this is the app that works well with ours, or people are in this ecosystem, in the sphere, and the solutions partners, you bring awareness to, oh, these, and you have to paint that picture for the market in this better together alliance that tells all the participants, all the solutions providers, all the people who have an outcome and interest in knowing what are the best tools that that stack together. When you run these MSAs, all of a sudden you've branded yourself apart from all the noise in the market, both like technically speaking, because you're occupying all these different touch points in the buyer's journey, but also in their mind, the going outcome is you have a branded alliance where people think of A company, B company, C company, and D company. And these are the companies. When you have this, you go for that, and that you go for this. And so like it's a branding maneuver. It's a
Right.
branding strategy, but it starts as a marketing and an events based approach.
Got it. And when you like, how would you break it down? So like, are there like in this ecosystem of partners, are you choosing like 5 to 7 partners who are non-competing but like serve the same ICP?
Exactly.
You know, how do you go about putting all of that together? Like, what's the mechanics behind it and the operations? Yeah.
So yeah, there are ways to make competing partners work together because as you actually get closer to them, you can actually see where they have their own distinct, unique value. But on the surface, the easier first starter move is like find 3 or 4 partners who are non-competing, who have a shared
Hmm.
customer base.
Hmm.
In the HubSpot ecosystem, there's 7 to 12 top apps who have the majority of the customers. Right, we're talking about 80/20 Pareto principle rules here. They're already well known. They're already liked and trusted. And so, like using that as an example, you would just find in any ecosystem, right? There's just the top partners, and that what's usually missing is like an orchestrator to hold everybody accountable and a calendar of events that they're committed to.
Got it. And you're usually playing the orchestrator role in
Absolutely.
these
Yeah.
scenarios. And then when you're reaching out to like the company, is there somebody, is it a partnerships person at the company? Is it sales? Is it marketing? Who's the
It
decision
depends on
maker
the
that
size of
you
the company. So
yeah.
in some companies, like partnerships is held by like the head of growth. In other size companies, there's a dedicated partner manager who's attached to like a particular ecosystem, so they know all the other partners in that other ecosystem, which is a good start.
Mhm.
In other companies, you're dealing with like the CMO. Who's overseeing partnerships and affiliates and understands the revenue function in that. And so it's often a blend between like a marketing role, and it has to come back to marketing anyways. And so
Sure.
you can pitch like the partner person loves it because you're going to help them hit their goals. You're going to make them look good. You're going to bring them out and you're going to say, hey, look, I'm doing my partnership alliance work. And now we're, in this, skybox with all these best other partners. But you have to get marketing involved because they are the ones who eventually control the marketing calendar, and they have to understand how the lead gen is going to flow. And so it's really a two-pronged approach, and whether you approach it from the bottom up or the top down, and just kind of, I've seen both work where top down CMOs like, I love this, I get it, I want it, and then they bring in their partner person and their marketing person, or you go the other direction and they bring it up and um, you sell the CMO.
Got it. And then so in terms of execution, you find the partners, you orchestrate it, you're the orchestrator, you get the calendar. Are there certain assets? Like how are you agreeing on the content? Like who are the speakers if there are any? Like how do you what's the formula for that?
Well, I want to go back one step and say that um, oftentimes I'm not having to find the partners. The partners already know the other partners. And the thing that's
Mhm.
missing between them is an active management of, like I said before, like keeping the conversations aligned, coming up with a calendar of events everybody commits to. And so it's not that these partners can't already do these types of events with their existing partners, but they can't do them consistently, regularly, and across multiple partners simultaneously because all of these other people have other jobs. And so, um, because there's this opportunity and then there's this gap in resource and headcount, you come in and you come up with the strategy alongside them, and you then co-create the calendar of events and activations, and then you get everybody to agree to them, and and you sit between them to make sure that people do what they say, because someone needs to babysit. Honestly, that's just kind of what it comes down to. It's like the
Right.
same way you babysit speakers, you have to babysit partners and marketing managers to make sure they have their copy, they understand when it's going to go out, and it's very one-to-one. Like if you're using just a broadcast email speaking to everybody saying, hey, here's your assets, when you speak to everybody in marketing, you speak to nobody.
Nobody.
And so same thing is like if you're talking to partners and you're addressing everybody in a mass blast email or a group chat, like you got to go one-to-one and like get them into Slack, get them on text message, talk to them like individual people. And it's just it's the hand holding that actually gets people to copy, paste, and hit send. That's really like
Yeah.
the secret to it. And so it's really like I said, accountability from the top, and then hand holding and getting them to press send at the bottom.
For these MSAs that you run, I know you've done several of these over the last, like year or so. What have been some of the results? Like, what have been some of the most successful campaigns and the
Uh,
results? Yeah.
I mean, there was one I came up with called, well, one of the events inside the MSA. So in the partnership technology space, there's about, again, 7 to 10 partners, and everybody's got new cool bells and whistles that they're coming out with, and they put a lot of money and time into new features, and they want the world to know what new things that they're building or have built. But they have, limited reach, right? Again, same issue I talked about before on why these things are powerful is they've got an email list and they're blasting everybody. Then they're getting a 25% open rate and like a 3% click rate, and so like they spent, $50,000 developing these new features this month, and 14 people watched the video, or some, or 25 people watched the
Right.
video, right? And
Right.
so one of the functions of the MSA is how do we bring all these best of breed apps together in a particular ecosystem, and when they have new best features that benefits the ecosystem, a good example would be the HubSpot ecosystem. Get all your HubSpot customers, partner A, partner B, partner C, partner D, and let's do a HubSpot feature release on a regular basis. And so now instead of just like one company trying to get their message out singularly, right now you've got 1,700 people instead of 70 people. And again, you have all those other like branding effects I talked about before. You have all the lead generation that comes from it. And so there's just a better together outcome when you group these ICP aligned, non-competing
Yeah.
ecosystem partners together into an MSA.
Oh, one thing I was going to ask is are you guys all using, so like each individual partner is using their own customer list to push
Yeah,
the event, right? Like you're not
absolutely.
running any paid ads.
No,
It's purely organic.
it's purely
Yeah.
organic. So yeah, I mean, I can get to
Nice.
15, 17, 1,800 people on pure organic.
Nice. Love it. Tell us a little bit about, if you can. I know you're doing this thing with HubSpot that I think this is a perfect example. If anybody wants to see, like, I don't know when this will come out. Maybe the HubSpot thing will launch, before or after this comes out. But I think a textbook example of this is like what you're doing with the HubSpot ecosystem. Can you talk a little bit about that with the launch that you guys are doing for that MSA?
Sure. I can't talk too much about the HubSpot MSA per se, but I can say that I'm in, and it wouldn't, and so I also want to be clear that like the HubSpot MSA is not something that HubSpot has like said, come in and run this for us, although I've started to dabble a little bit around that.
Sure.
And so it's more of a independent motion
Got
with
it.
the HubSpot partners to do something like that. But where I am like officially engaged with HubSpot and was also officially engaged with HubSpot is they hired me to come in September and bring together like their best of breed app partners
Hmm.
to demonstrate in this particular case, like I would say a full enablement event around, we called it from API to ARR. And so like they got two partners for each kind of the major themes that to attract new partners, better partners, and help existing partners um, understand what the top partners are doing. I helped orchestrate their I would say maybe first HubSpot ecosystem playbook event for their app partners to demonstrate how do you doing co-selling, how are you building integrations, how are you getting found in the marketplace, what are you saying and doing to activate installs. And so, I sat down with them and I helped create alongside Jesse Cunningham, who's their app partner director, manager, programs director. Forgot the official titles, like three things. And we worked together to build out like what all that enablement looks like. The other thing I'm working on with HubSpot, which is all the things I'm sharing with you right now are being like verbally described.
Yeah.
But I'm actually for 2026, and I'll be making a post about this one once the ink is officially dried, is I'm going to be teaching their HubSpot, it's called their PGA, Partner Growth Accelerator program.
Yes.
So they have
Yes. Yes. You told me about this.
yeah,
Yeah.
so they have like every quarter they have a cohort of partners that they bring through to train them. Kind of taking what we talked about before from the virtual side into more of uh, like coaching you to get better results as a partner. And so part of getting better results is running webinars and events. And so I'm going to be their official webinar virtual event trainer, sharing with
Oh
them
yeah.
like tactically, practically, systematically, copy, content, flow, systems, workflows, lead routings on like all the things that I talk about here and other places. I'll be actually teaching that as a course all next year to their 4 to 8 different cohorts.
Lovely. Um, Anything I didn't ask that I should ask about building MSAs? You know, what about when they don't work? It seems like they do always work because you're basically I'd like to I think I gave you this analogy, like, back in the day, they were like Power Rangers, and each individual Power Ranger was, like, strong by themselves, but, like, when you combine
Yeah.
them together, they created this Megazord. So if
Yeah.
if you're doing a webinar for 70 people versus 1,700, obviously there's always gonna be a bigger impact. So I don't know if there's any pitfalls or challenges or things
Yeah,
that
I
people
mean, it
should be
all
aware of.
goes into like the selection process. So, like for an MSA to work, you have to have commitments from the partners around capability, reach, and participation on lead generation. And so you can't bring an unqualified, untested, unperforming partner into it because it's just not going to help out the other partners unless like they have some amazing new product or tool that's just revolutionary that complements the other ones so well and everyone acknowledges that this is definitely a participant that we need from a product standpoint. But again, like if product solved all the answers, then there would be no need for marketing. And so because everyone has great products, right, and they need
Right.
to go to market with them, marketing and reach is the whole reason why this type of stuff exists. And so getting clear if you're going to form your own MSA with multiple partners, you're going to want to run a couple of tests. Like, will they do two things? One, can they send or deliver marketing messages that drive? I mean, why would you do this with anybody who can't drive more than at least 100 leads and registrants? And so, especially if you're in like the SMB to mid market size, where like volume matters, you're not dealing with enterprise customers where you're not trying to run a webinar to like a Fortune 500 company. But if you're dealing with like more volume and lower price points, then
Yeah.
like 100 would be like a minimum qualification that you're going to want to like have you run events with them before? Have they run events before?
Yeah.
Do they have an events team? How good are they at this? And so some like real basic stuff that like if they if they can perform at 100 or more, then that's a good qualification. And then if they're easy to work with and nice to work with, which sometimes people aren't, or if they commit but they can't actually, if they verbally commit but actually don't perform and
Perform,
show
yeah.
up, that's the other one. So beyond that, that's really you need an orchestrator and someone who understands like the stack and how it works and the better together stories in between them. And once you have an understanding of that, then you've got a good theme to run events and co-marketing across multiple organizations in a singular ecosystem.
What are you doing with AI in this? Like, what are you I know you're building some stuff, or you maybe that's you haven't talked about that stuff publicly, but like what role does AI support in helping, outside of, people saying, "Hey, this new feature like us
Yeah.
plus AI," or everybody's got an AI angle now, but more so like Are you using tools? Are there anything in the stack that helps facilitate this process or move it like
Yeah,
along
so
faster?
my experience with AI right now is very hands-on. I would say for the last 6 weeks, that's all I've put my attention on. It's like, um, and so, like, for people who hear the word AI and actually haven't like done anything with it, at least from a marketing perspective, one of the lenses that I've talked about and talk about with others is like, what existing workflows do you have in which either A, the quality is low or non-existent because you just can't get it done, or takes a really long time to produce. And so right now there are just tons of tools out there that allow you to like look at like, okay, in my particular example, I run my own ecosystem as a team of one outside of the HubSpot space.
Yep.
And so I was just running events previously, right? So events were a model that I knew I could start and launch with, but I knew that there were other activation points and conversion points. Like if I had my own newsletter and if I had my own uh, website with tons and tons of great repurposed content from these events. The problem is repurposing that content previously was $750 to $1,000 per article. And if
Mhm.
I'm doing 100 webinars a month, I mean a year, not a month, a year,
100 a
you can
month would be crazy.
yeah, 100 a month would be crazy. Just like the ability to afford and have it economically make sense to create this now secondary content destination where people can now consume and convert into the ways that you typically would run content marketing on a website. And so for
Mhm.
me, I've been dialing in my own AI repurposing tool from the events that I've been doing. And so I've been feeding all my events videos into this process, and it's been spitting out like really, 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 really good articles and playbooks, like in what would take maybe I would say like 2 weeks of like an editor and designer's time for like $750, $1,000. I can generate the draft from the video, and then like I know it sounds crazy, but like in 5 minutes have like a really good rough draft that then I have to probably spend another 35 minutes like polishing, cleaning up, looking for accuracy, checking links, doing some editorial work. It even grabs the screenshots of all the like great
Yeah,
moments
I've
in
seen
the
these.
slides, and adds captions to it. And so, like, what was impossible economically just didn't make sense. Now I can then have a whole, and there's a whole strategy. And this is actually where the MSA really can take flight is like, yeah, you can run events together and you can have a better together story that lives in a singular moment in time as an event where people are paying attention to. But once the event is over, like, there's still audience and attention that would like to see more of it in a different form or never ever saw it at all because they didn't even attend. And so, like, how are you repurposing that content in an economical fashion that drives further consumption of those value propositions? And then if you have them on your website, right, you're just basically then using your email list and ads and some of the other mechanisms that I use to drive traffic now to another point of attention and conversion that then produces leads. And so the MSA really comes alive now from an economic standpoint where you don't need to go to your developers, you don't need to go to your editors and blog people, you don't need to like hire all this, uh, process sticky people. You can sit down and with a an admin, a marketing admin for I don't know $1,000 a month total. You can then like if you go to my site right now, you'll see like 30 new, very high quality articles on all the topics that we talked about in a better, more readable format. Um, and you can crank that stuff out and generate. Again, we're competing for attention, we're competing for eyeballs. And so beyond events, the MSA comes alive now because of AI and the ability to economically repurpose content and drive further consumption from already invested assets.
Makes sense. Yeah, I think everything is lead magnetable now. I don't
Yeah,
know if that's a word,
yeah.
but if you're not repurposing, you're kind of just missing out. And we'll link to that in, for you guys who, haven't seen that stuff with Justin Zimmerman. He's done a really amazing job. Anything else before we jump into the one by one? Anything else you want to add before we jump into that last segment?
No, that should do it.
All right, cool. This is the one by one. One room, one book, one quote or thought. So, what's one room of influence that's had an impact on your life or career? A book that you've read recently, and a final quote or thought.
See, one room that I've been in that has helped me tremendously. It was a partnership leaders event in Miami in 2022. I sat in the front row. In fact, actually, it's a common theme. I sat in the front row at another event, but that wasn't as impactful. And I
You're
happened to
the
sit
front
next.
row guy.
I'm a front row guy. Yeah, I always sit in the front row. That's it always seems to work for me.
Yeah,
Um, and so, yeah, I met like, in the industry, in the space, where I am, there was just kind of like the leaders, the people who were, the thought leaders, the influencers, the content creators, the people who, if they were to know, like, and trust me, could open a lot of doors and help me lift my business up. And so, yeah, I sat in the front row at that particular event and shook hands, made good impressions, and those people, because they saw what my eagerness, willingness, and energy to kind of create something new, they, for what normally would be an inaccessible amount of access or money, worked with me and helped me lift my brand, my positioning, and of course my business. And so that was definitely a big one for me. One book. I got asked this question yesterday. I really like, in maybe an audiobook format, Ray Dalio's Principles.
it's a
Um,
classic.
yeah, so that guy's came from nothing, from what he says, as a golf caddy in his teens or 20s, and just has always paid attention to like systems, dynamics, people, and psychology, and you know uh, created a very successful financial based business. But the fact that he's just kind of wrote things down throughout his whole career, like a journal, around what worked, what didn't work, and he shares most of them, and just makes me think differently about how I operate.
Yeah, I like Ray stuff. People should check his book out. Principles
Yeah,
is a good one.
sometimes
Yep.
it's so common sense. It's like uh, it's you're like, what where's the value in this? But if you understand where he's coming from and you read his books, then that's where sometimes those quotes come into power.
Final thought or quote
Let's see here. Final thought and quote.
or quote. You don't have to do both.
Oh, what's the options?
Final thought or quote, like a final thought to wrap everything up, or a quote that that comes to mind regularly or
Um,
that you.
yeah, I mean, I think, assuming the audience, well, regardless of who the audience is, I think that whether you're in a job or you're in your own business, one of the best pieces of advice that I could give myself going back is like, just start.
Yeah.
You hear that a lot from people, but the answers come as you work and move through it. And so, sure, there are way bigger businesses that need to do a lot more like due diligence and strategy and oversight. And if you're one of those, probably still just start anyways. But for people who don't have like that type of overhead, the more you think about something, the less likely you're doing it. And really, the learnings and progress come from doing.
Yeah. Get in there, get in the arena. Where can people connect with you? I know your website. Well, what's the best place that they can find you? I know you're on LinkedIn as well, but what's the best
Yeah,
place for
so
people
just
to
really
connect
two
with you?
places. Go to partnerplaybooks.com or type in Justin Zimmerman inside of LinkedIn.
Awesome, man. Thanks for coming on the pod, and look forward to having you back in the future and drop some more gems.